Hello and welcome back to AP World History Modern. Today we're going to begin looking at Unit 1.4 and we'll be spending a couple days on this. Today we're largely just going to be doing a little contextualization of this topic and real quick governance, and then we'll do some skill practice. We'll practice an SAQ. So in class we begin by just seeing if anyone can recognize this. Like, do you know what it is? Do you know what empire it was? Do you know where it was? Right. So, what kind of familiarity do you have with this particular topic that we're on right now? So, generally speaking, kids are pretty quick to to identify that this is Machu Picchu. If they don't get that, then generally they'll say something like Peru or in the Andes Mountains, right? And those are all the correct responses, right? So, but it is one of the more well-known sites. Okay. All right. So yeah, but we're going to begin our kind of look at the Americas. All right. So specifically, we're going to be looking at really kind of two parts here in Unit 1, and then we'll come back to the Americas in Unit 2, and really kind of check out the ancestral Pueblo people and the Mississippians, right, with Cahokia there, right? So yes. So today we're looking at these, right, and just a few things about this, and let me just kind of draw this out. So we're talking about the Americas. All right. So let's just kind of draw a quick little map here. Right. So coming in off in South America and coming into Mesoamerica here. Right. And this is just a real rough map, right? So in this general vicinity here, right? So let me use my highlighters, I guess. All right, so this general vicinity here, let's do a map key. Right, so this is the key. And so this would be the Inca, right? So Inca, all right? And we have a distinct capital, Cusco, right? Cusco. And you may have noticed that a flag that kind of looks like this, or like this in my classroom. Oops, what am I doing? I'm supposed to be projecting this. There we go. All right, so there you go. All right, so I just kind of quickly drew a real quick little map of the Americas. All right, so sorry for not having that when I did it. So just kind of drew a quick little spatial map here of Mesoamerica, South America, right, or a little bit of South America, and just kind of drew the Inca, right, little Inca, and made a little key there. All right, so. And right, and drew the capital. I'll put the capital on there as well. All right, and so I was just kind of pointing this out here. And you may have noticed on the left side of my classroom that I have this flag. This is if you go to Cusco today, this is the city flag of Cusco, and so we often kind of associate that flag with the Inca Empire, right? With the Inca Empire. All right. Just a couple little governance, because today that's really what I want to focus on is governance. Is pretty centralized, right? Pretty centralized empire, right? We have a large bureaucracy, right? We have a large bureaucracy as a result of that, okay? And we'll kind of get into kind of more of this stuff later, because I just want to do a quick contextualization today. All right, secondly, let's kind of start over here. All right, so this is the Maya. This is the Maya. And the Maya are city-states. Okay. In class, when I went over this real quick, I just made some quick comparisons. So when you think about, the Inca Empire, it's centralized, a larger bureaucracy than the others, kind of similar like China, right? So centralized, large bureaucracy, right? Kind of highly organized state structures, right? So just as a general comparison. When it comes to Maya, right, it's city-states. I guess I should probably, this is beyond the Yucatan down into Guatemala and Belize and the such, right? So yes. So these are city-states similar to what we see in the Swahili coast of East Africa, or also similar to what we see in Southern Europe with like the Italian city-states, right? Right, and the last kind of region here that we're gonna focus in on today for a few minutes is the Aztec, and sometimes you'll see them referred to as the Mexica. Right, sometimes you'll see them referred to as the Mexica, and we do have a central capital here. Tenoch. I'm spelling that completely wrong. Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan. There you go. I think I was trying to spell Teotihuacan. All right, so Tenochtitlan. Right, so we do have a centralized capital here. However, it is not as centralized. Right, not as centralized. All right, so this is more of a tribute state. Okay, more of a tribute state, kind of empire. All right, so the Mexica people who live in Tenochtitlan and control the empire. There's not a large bureaucracy that is all over the place, right? But tribute flows in from individual states or individual tribal groups, and and it is a unified cultural zone, right? But not a unified political zone. And I'll explain what that means real quick. All right. So when you're talking about this part of the world, so this is sometimes called Mesoamerica, MESO. So Meso means middle America. You have like sometimes referred to as the mother civilization going back over 2,000 years ago. And it was in this region called the Olmecs, right? That's OLMEC, the Olmecs. And so when we talk about the Maya or the Mexica, right, Aztecs, right, then these are a unified cultural group, right? So similar gods, similar religious beliefs, right? And right, so so it goes Olmec, and then there's Toltec, right, who predate the Mexica, right? So the Toltec and the Maya both adopt characteristics of the Olmecs, and then the Aztecs, the Mexica people, would have adopted that faith from the Toltecs. Okay, so this is a unified cultural zone, right? So when we talk about the Aztec Empire, this kind of purple, right? Purple. This is not a centralized state, right? It is decentralized. It is a tribute state, paying tribute back to the center, and there's a unified culture here. All right. So that's kind of just basic stuff, and we'll do a little bit more tomorrow with that. But let's go ahead and through these questions. These photographs indicate the people of China, right? So Song Dynasty China, and the people of ancient Peru, right? So Inca modified their environment too. Go ahead and look at those choices and come back when you're ready. All right, so hopefully you got that correct. So increase the amount of land available, right? So remember during the Song Dynasty, we have the introduction of champa rice, that fast-growing, drought-resistant rice, and we're going to increase the amount of land to farm that in southern China, where the climate is advantageous to growing it, right? So that's why we see this terracing, right? In the case of South America, this terracing is largely done for potatoes, right? For the growth of potatoes. And, you've got a couple things here. One is it's mountainous, right? Just like what we see in southern part of China, right? It's mountainous, so you're trying to increase the amount of farmland. But also a lot of the Incan civilization is at altitude, so that flatness creates additional sunlight so that you can grow crops at a higher elevation than what you otherwise normally would have been able to. All right, next question. Which conclusion about Incan society could be drawn from the map? right? So we see this map here. Go ahead and take a minute and look at the map and then answer the question. All right, so hopefully you got the correct answer as one, right? That Inca road system. So if you're going to have a highly centralized bureaucratic state centered out of Cusco, then that's you're gonna need a way to travel, right? For for communication, for movement of goods, movement of armies, and the such, right? So that road system is very well known, and another one of my videos on my Google videos, kind of a little homemade video that I made of when I was in South America, okay, and it shows you what the Inca Road looked like, right? So at about the 540 mark or so, if you're interested, it's on my YouTube page there. So, but yeah, so you see that Inca stairs, so you're not climbing through the mountains here; you're just walking up and down stairs. All right, so I did have a couple of students today in class, put where was it there? Seaports. Right? And there is one here, but the Inca are not known for seagoing trade. Fishing, yes. Seaports, no. All right. All right, next question. So take a moment and come up with an answer. All right, so this one is probably a little too easy since I put it back to back with the last one, but you get the idea. All right, so roads. No camels, right? Camels are not in the Americas at this point because there's not a lot of merchant activity on the ocean. You don't need a navy to protect it. And there's no books in pre-Columbian America. Quipus, yes, that was from your homework, right? Quipus, but no books. All right, so that's the best answer. All right, next one. Go ahead and take a moment. I guess I gotta move my picture here. Huh? There we go. All right, there we go. So take a moment and come back when you're done. All right. So the correct answer here is establish an organized government specialized workforce. Right. This is a lot of job specialization. So even though the Mexica and Aztec are not as centralized and bureaucratic as the Inca, they still have some very impressive public works. All right. 4, this is pre-Columbian, so no European influence. I did have a couple of kids put the wheel. That's not a terrible guess. But we don't really have any evidence that the Mexica people used any wheeled tools like how the Chinese use wheelbarrows. We just don't have evidence of that. There is evidence that the Mexica did allow their children or had children's toys with wheels, but just not for daily life. All right, so 3 is your best answer. All right, next question. Go ahead and read through this and come back when you're done. All right, so this is definitely not South America, right? So, and it's also not Inca because the Inca is in South America. There's nothing here to say that this is, post 1492. So pre-Columbian, so 2 is out as well, which leaves this, right? So once again, you have Olmecs, right? Olmecs, their cultural is adopted by the Mayans, right? This is the Mayan city-states, right? And then the Toltecs, right, will then come and control this region, and even the northern Mayan territory, which is why like Chichen Itza, if you have ever been to Chichen Itza or ever seen pictures of Chichen Itza, their temples don't look a lot like the temples that you see down in Guatemala, Belize, etc. Right, so their temples are more kind of Toltec, architecturally inspired. All right, and of course the Aztecs, the Mexica, when they come down into the Central Valley, they will adopt those cultural practices. All right, and this is the last question. This is one that was pretty much universally answered correctly, so no pressure. All right, so hopefully you get the correct answer as B or 2. All right. All right, so let's go on. So in class today, this is what we did, is we read through this SAQ prompt, and then we answered A and B in class. So if you're watching this from home, I'm assuming you're unable to do the Google Meet. And so I did put on Classroom, It's the same thing that I did for all my other students. So let me just kind of show you. So you go to your classwork. If you go to 1.4, click on that, then you'll see your SAQ. Can you please answer that SAQ and answer questions 1 or A and B, please? Right, so just a couple of hints, because I did definitely give some hints in class today. So I'm just going to read through this, and then I'll release you. There are scores of rich Muslim merchants from the kingdom of Srivaya in Southeast Asia who are living and were born in the city of Guangzhou in southern China. All right, so that being said, Muslim who is Srivayan, right, a Srivayan Muslim living in southern China, right, on a coastal city, right? So that's kind of your big hint, right? And then kind of read down through the rest of this. Right, so we were talking about a specific man who is a Muslim, and he's very generous, right, to his fellow foreign residents of Guangzhou. Building a cemetery for foreign merchants, right, is but one of his many generous deeds. The cemetery project was first proposed by another Srivayan foreigner, but he died before he could finish it. She then built the cemetery on the hillside to the east of the city. The cemetery is covered with a roof, enclosed by a wall, and safely locked at night. All foreign merchants who die in Guangzhou are to be buried there. She's kind deed allows the foreign merchants in our city to not have to worry about being able to be buried according to the requirements of their own religions. She's kindness will certainly promote overseas trade and encourage more foreigners to come to Guangzhou, where they can live, conduct their business in harmony. I have included this story so that the news can be widely circulated overseas. Right, and so this is a document created by a Chinese government customs inspector, somebody who would have had a lot of interaction with foreign merchants, right? And notice the date. This is during the Song Dynasty of China. Right, so when you're answering question A, one historical process, and let me give you a hint. Yesterday's class, we drew a map, and we talked about a historical process that would help explain a Muslim merchant, a Srivayan Muslim merchant living in China. All right, so what is that historical process? All right, and then for question B, right, when you're answering question B, there's really nothing in this passage that's going to be part of the answer. The question is asking for one aspect of the economic development of China under the sun. What is a technological innovation from the Tang or Song dynasty, but would have been present in the Song dynasty? What is a technological innovation that would have promoted economic development that would have attracted merchants from Southeast Asia? So this is an explain question. In an explain question, you can't just kind of say what it is. You're going to need to give me the specific innovation and then connect the dots that will then lead to Southeast Asian merchants living there. Okay, so this one's a couple more steps. All right, so please do A and B. You're welcome to do C if you want, but in class we only did A and B. All right, so please make sure you complete that on your Google Doc. All right, so key takeaways, and I guess we'll just kind of look states form for many of the same reasons and keep power in many of the same ways. And of course, I guess tomorrow we'll look more at some of these factors in which government geography impacts the states that rise up. All right, that's all for today. Sapriati.